We're going to pack a lot into this video. We're going to talk about stuff in the garden, the animals, the kitchen, and some fun stuff along the way. And it's not just going to be a list of our favorite things. We're also going to talk about how and why we use some of this stuff so you can get some ideas for yourself.
We divided our favorite things.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Up into categories. And of course, we're starting with the gardening category because that's my favorite. One of my favorite varieties, my favorite things that we grew this year was these Tiger's Eye beans. They're just really, really pretty and fun. Our family really enjoyed doing these beans. They bring back good memories for me, and they taste really good. They're like nice and beefy. They're like a nice big bean that makes a really good chili. I've started making these with hamburger in the morning, and the kids really like it instead of eggs. One of my other favorite things was the wildflowers that I planted. In the past, I've been kind of in the camp of if you can't eat it, it's not worth growing. But I'm slowly starting to change that because my kids are getting older, I have more help, I have a little bit more time, and the wildflowers brought me so much joy this year. I planted them over by my swing, and in the afternoons I would sit on my swing, look at my wildflowers. There was a hummingbird that would come and dip down into my wildflowers. It brought in butterflies. I gave bouquets to my friends. It was just really, really fun. The wildflowers were a bit of a last minute decision. I just had like a space in my garden that I needed to fill. So I just went to Walmart and got a pollinator mix off of their seed rack, and it worked really, really well. It was inexpensive.
My favorite thing that we grew in our garden this year was the loofah sponges. They look so cool coming down from the trellis. We'll talk a little bit more about trellis later, but we built this arch trellis.
This stupid bag of zip ties was $13.
Made like this magical entrance into the garden, and they were fun to grow. They're different and unique. Michelle took them, cut them up, and then folded them over and sewed them to make sponges.
They're working really well. I mean, ever since I made these, I've been using just one of them. Whenever it gets kind of dirty or stinky, I put it into the dishwasher and it comes out good as new. It's not even showing signs of wear yet, so these are gonna last me for a really long time.
For gardening tools, we added a couple new things, and we've got some old favorites that we'll talk about. My favorite this year was this DeWalt chainsaw. They actually call it a pruning saw. The reason that I got it actually was I had some branches growing into my electric fence that was shorting it out, and I wanted to cut them down. Sick and tired of dealing with old gas chainsaws that weren't working right. And then actually in our last video, I used it to cut down our asparagus patch, and it worked good for that also. Another thing from DeWalt was this sweeper here. This is something we've had for a long time, and we are not sponsored by DeWalt, but they make some good stuff. This was an idea that I came up with a few years ago to get the bugs out of the garden. We've got some bad problems with bugs sometimes. The squash bugs, asparagus beetles. For the asparagus beetles, take this and just go over the top of the plants, suck them right off. Or if there's a big bunch of squash bugs, you can just sweep them right off. Don't have to pick them off one by one or spray with chemicals.
Another one of my very favorite things this year is this apron. And this is saying a lot because I hate aprons. I genuinely despise them. I don't wear them at home normally. But this one has saved my life when it comes to picking raspberries. It's called a Joey apron. You can just clip it on. And then I set a bowl right here in this pocket. Makes me look pregnant. My raspberry bushes are really prickly, so I like to pick up a branch by the leaves and then pick the berries out from underneath. This makes so that I can just put them directly into this bowl. I don't have to be holding a bowl with one hand or bending over to put the raspberries in the bowl every single time I pick a handful. Another thing that is probably going to be on my favorites list every single year is the Haas wheel hoe. We only till our garden in the spring and the fall, but while our plants are getting established before we have leaf mulch on our garden, I really like to have a tool that can very quickly take care of little weeds that come up. If you use the weed sweeps on the Haas wheel hoe right away before the weeds get tall, it just cuts them right off, and it's just this fast, streamlined process. Absolutely love my Haas wheel hoe. I also like it for making trenches. It's just a huge time saver in the garden. One of my other favorite things in the garden this year was using cattle panels for trellising. Cody made a big arched trellis with a cattle panel. We also did some TP trellises with cattle panels for our butternut squash and cucumbers. And then we also used the cattle panels for my indeterminate tomatoes that climb like as high as the ceiling, and it just worked really, really well, and it made my garden feel very tidy this year.
By the way, for the different products that we talk about, chainsaw, sweeper, things like that, there will be a link for that stuff in the description so you can find it for yourself. And we're gonna talk about some more outside stuff again in a little bit, like the animals, but we're gonna talk about some other stuff that we did inside first. And for me, one of my favorite projects this year was making mead. This is the second batch of mead that I made. This stuff is done. I need to get it bottled. I might try to do that later this evening, and I'll show you how it turns out then in a later video.
This fall, I experimented with rendering beeswax for the first time, and I had so much fun with it. It was really messy, but I used equipment like separate stuff. I didn't use stuff from my own kitchen. I just got some things at Goodwill, some pots and pans, and used them. And this stuff turned out amazing. The beeswax was like brown and dirty and gross, and the transformation was really, really fun. I had a nice big block of this, but I've been experimenting with candle making. I haven't been crazy successful yet with the candle making. I'm pretty sure it's like a wick problem. I need to find the right wick for the size candles and also the beeswax that I'm using. But it's been really fun. And the other project that's been my favorite, you probably all already guessed it, is soap making. I had so much fun with soap making this fall and winter. Still practicing that. I'll bring it to the channel someday. It's just really fulfilling to make skincare products with things that we grow here in our land. Next is something random and fun, our favorite drinks of 2024. For me, it's definitely gotta be matcha. This is something I started just this year. I don't do well with coffee and high caffeine things. The caffeine in matcha does not bother me. I feel really good on it. I have learned to love the taste of it. It can be a bit of an acquired taste. This is my favorite one that I've tried. It's just a random one off of Amazon. If you decide to start with matcha, definitely get a ceremonial grade matcha. You don't want just the culinary grade. It's much more bitter and it's not that bright green that you want.
While Michelle's been chugging matcha, I've been chugging Everyday Dose. They sponsored one of our videos a while back, and I have just been using it ever since. I absolutely love it. I also don't do well on caffeine. This has way less caffeine than regular coffee. It tastes really good. It makes an awesome iced latte. So I've been using this quite a bit. This is definitely one of my favorite drinks.
Olippops. Olippops have been one of our favorite drinks this year. We really like these for adventures. Like if we got really hot, we would stop at Kroger and get an Olipop. These don't have much sugar in them, and they just taste really, really good and refreshing on a hot day. And now that it's cold outside, we're still drinking them because it's fun. It's like a treat without all of the junk that some that sodas have. So this is not actually a drink, but this is something that I use to make drinks. Most of you know I'm obsessed with tea. Cody got this beautiful strainer for me for our anniversary, and it's just so much fun to use because it's pretty. It would make like a really beautiful gift. It has this lid, and you just put your loose leaf tea in here and set it into your mug, and then when you're done, you take it out. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a really pretty twist, and it always makes me happy when I use it.
One of my other favorite drinks for 2024 is definitely LMNT Sparkling. They are sponsoring today's video, but that is not the reason that it is my favorite. I genuinely love these drinks. LMNT is an electrolyte drink mix. You can get it in stick packs, and right now you can get their chocolate medley flavors for just a limited time. They've got chocolate raspberry, chocolate mint, chocolate
mint,
and chocolate chai. These are really great to use as a hot drink. So sometimes I'll use the chocolate raspberry in a hot chocolate, and that is really good. My favorite thing to do right now though is using the chocolate caramel. I've been using it with Everyday Dose to make myself a caramel mocha, and it is really good. I use half a packet of one of these in one of my iced coffees. LMNT is used by professional athletes. It's used by elite groups like Marines, Navy SEALs, FBI, and people like me who run and work out. It's just really important to replace the electrolytes that your body loses when you sweat. It really helps with things like muscle cramps, headaches, and hormone regulation. And for you More Than Farmers peeps, if you use the link in our description, you can get a free sample pack of 8 single serving packets with any order, and you can try this stuff risk-free. If you don't like it for any reason, you can just let them know and they will give you a refund with no questions asked.
Moving on to our next favorite category, YouTube channels that we love to watch. My all-time favorite YouTube channel right now is Liziqi. That's spelled Liziqi, I think. It's basically a Chinese girl who grows her own food, and it takes you through the process of her growing all of her own stuff. It's beautiful, beautiful photography. She hasn't posted for quite a while, so I'm just like binging all of her old stuff, and she gets like tons of views. And even my daughters like to sit and watch it with me. One of my favorite YouTube channels for health is Cambria Joy. She talks a lot about metabolic health and hormones, and she has a really great personality, very fun-loving person, and I've learned so much from her.
I don't watch just a lot of homesteading videos. It's our life. It's what we do all day, every day, it seems like. So I don't just watch a lot of it, but I do enjoy watching Goldshaw Farm. I was trying to think of like what the reason is that I like watching his videos. I think it's because he's unique and different. That's how I am. I like to think outside of the box. And so shout out to you, Morgan.
My favorite homesteading channel is Farmhouse on Boone. Probably all of you know about that. Lisa's very inspiring. I've been on her podcast before, just really appreciate her work. And then as for my favorite travel channel, just something that I just love to watch whenever, I love Kara and Nate. They're my all-time favorite YouTubers, probably of all time. We watch them every single week on Sunday evenings. That's kind of our tradition. As a family, we sit and watch and dream about traveling someday.
Kara and Nate also is one of my all-time favorite channels. Probably if I had to just pick one to watch, it'd probably be them. It's just so fun and relaxing. I do watch some other stuff, some random stuff like snowboarding, mountain biking, things like that. But something that I found this year that I just thought was really fun is Isaac Carlton. He has like some filmmaking videos, and they're just really random and inspiring to me, I guess, with what he does with filmmaking, and they're just a whole lot of fun. So that's one of my favorites for this year.
We also wanted to mention our favorite YouTube videos that we filmed this year. For me, oh man, it was so hard, but I think it was the applesauce video, the one where we went to a local orchard, got apple cider, apples, and made applesauce. It's just such a good memory because the kids had so much fun with it.
For me, definitely my favorite was the eclipse video. That experience was incredible, amazing. It was a fun video to make. I worked until like midnight that night to get it published by the next day. And I just felt like that one really fell flat because I published it right after another video, and both of those videos, neither one of them got a whole lot of views. But if you haven't seen that one, definitely go watch that one. That one was super inspiring.
That was really cool. The eclipse was definitely a highlight of this year. Next category is the kitchen. I'll probably be doing most of this one because Cody doesn't do a ton in the kitchen unless he's helping me with something. One of my very favorite canning, kitchen, whatever things that I discovered this year was Superb lids. These lids can be a bit controversial, and I went in very skeptical. I have not had any issues with Ball. I really like Ball. I still like Ball. But man, these lids are a workhorse. I ended up towards the end of the year, my faith in them kept growing, and I just use these exclusively. I haven't had a single jar open up in the basement. I haven't had any issues with them. I tried them with pressure canning. I even tried to like tighten some of the rings too tight or something to try to make so that they wouldn't seal. Every single jar that I canned with these sealed except for one. And I don't know, it could easily have been something with the jar. So I'm definitely gonna be getting Superb lids again next year. This is a bit random, but this is something that has really helped me in the kitchen. It was only 10 bucks on Amazon. It's an infrared thermometer, and you can just push this button, and then you point at whatever it is that you want to test the temperature of, and it will show it to you on the screen. And so when you're making like a caramel or something, you can just shine this laser into your caramel sauce, and it tells you exactly what the temp is. And so you don't have to be like trying to get a thermometer in there, like physically in the sauce. I also love this for soap making. That way you don't have to touch the lye with a thermometer. You can just point this at the lye and it tells you exactly what the temp is. This is a game changer for sure. Next is this chopper. I've definitely mentioned this before, but it goes on my favorites list again. Absolutely love this thing. Until like last year, I didn't own a chopper. I was just like, I can do it with a knife. I definitely am very minimal with gadgets, but man, this one is so worth it. There's different plates that you can put in it. There's the long ones, and then there's tiny ones for like onions, and then also bigger squares for potatoes and carrots and things like that. You've got to be a little bit rough with this thing, but it's strong and it has taken all the beatings that I've given it. There's a few recipes that really stood out this year and became our favorites. One of them was from the blog Amber's Kitchen, and it's a sourdough sandwich bread. It's really soft, it's really stretchy. I make it with 100% whole wheat flour, and it still turns out beautiful and soft and stretchy. Another one one of our favorites is sourdough blondies from the blog Farmhouse on Boone. They're so good, they're so easy. You just mix them up, stick them in the fridge, and you can bake them anytime throughout the week. I've made them over and over again, and I plan to continue in 2025. This ghee that we made a couple weeks ago is fast becoming a favorite of mine. It is not making my daughter sick, it's not making me sick, and it just works so good. It makes everything so flavorful. I do love coconut oil, I do love tallow, but if you want that nice, deep, rich butter flavor, this is amazing. It makes the best popcorn, and it also just makes really good eggs. We had been making eggs in coconut oil, and they're just not as good as they are in butter. Another one of my favorite products that I've tried this year is from Azure Standard. It is their bread flour, 100% whole white wheat, unified, and organic. It's so good, and it makes this beautiful, soft, stretchy bread. I do have some plans for next year when it comes to bread making, but for now, this flour is perfect.
We went on some adventures this year, and we went on a couple big ones, but we try to make our life an adventure. We try to go on little adventures throughout the week, throughout the month. Probably my favorite thing that we did this year was kayaking. We got kayaks this spring, and we went kayaking as a family, and that was loads of fun. The river that we have to go on is peaceful, it's beautiful, it's clear, you can see down to the bottom.
No, definitely kayaking was top for me. Almost every Sunday afternoon we went kayaking. It was something we looked forward to. We'd listen to music while we're floating down the river. I would say second to that was the backpacking gear that we got. We got everybody a backpacking backpack, one that actually doesn't kill your back. And then we camped out, like out in the woods.
That one, we might need a year or two to get into that and get past the
toddler.
little toddler thing. That can be pretty rough when you're doing like 6 miles of hiking. I did a lot of carrying.
Yeah. She did pretty good most of the time, but then it came to the point where you're like throwing gummy bears down the trail to try to get her to keep going.
Right. We also ran some races this year. That's a little more my thing than it is hers. So I think she only has like one race to choose from as her favorite. But for me, I think my favorite was the Horseshoe Hill Climb in Bell Fountain, Ohio. That one was super cool. I actually ran that one by myself. I did enjoy the races that I ran with other people in some ways more than this, but running by myself, it was very peaceful. It was a gorgeous morning. It was just a beautiful trail. It was on some horse trails and stuff. And at the end, I had this guy in front of me with some super big calves that I was like, if I could pass him, I'd feel good about myself. And I did at the very end. That was cool.
Oh my word. The hot chocolate race is a race that we've started running every fall/winter. And it's often cold outside, and then at the end of the race, you get a chocolate fondue, stuff to dip in it, you get a hot chocolate. It's just like, I don't know, it's really fun. And it also like gets us out of the country. We love the country, but it's so much fun to experience different things. And so the race is held in like downtown Columbus, and we're running down the streets in between skyscrapers. It's just a really cool experience. And I also love it that our kids are starting to run with us. Our oldest, Israel, started running with us too. And it's just a really fun experience.
And then we had a couple big adventures. We did a couple trips this year, one last winter, but that was still technically in this year, and then one in the summer. We just needed a little break. The biggest trip was probably my favorite in one way, but this summer we went to Hocking Hills, Ohio. It was just gorgeous, and we just had a lot of fun just chilling. It was just a few days. It was very relaxing. It was very rejuvenating, so that was definitely one of my favorites.
The hiking was beautiful. We found a cave, just stunning, and the kids really liked it too. That made it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My favorite trip, I mean, hands down, was Florida.
Right.
In the wintertime, like I crave the color blue. I crave hearing water, feeling water. I crave the sun. And so like the Florida trip was just kind of a milestone for our family in so many different ways. And it's a trip that I'll never forget. So that one definitely goes down first for me.
A few of our favorite animals on our homestead this year. Sadly, we did sell our milk cow, so I can't, I guess, put that on my list because she's gone. But we did get a steer named Hero. He's just a lot of fun to have in the pasture. He looks to me like the teddy bear version of a steer.
He's a
like,
giant baby.
Yeah, he's fuzzy and he's just like a giant baby. He's really friendly. Sometimes maybe I think friendly enough that he would like to push me over if I went into the pasture with him, but he loves to come up to the fence and get pet and stuff like that. So
he's also good friends with the dog, and so they put on a show out there all the time.
Right.
They like get each other all riled up and
Yeah.
stuff. I think my favorite animal that we added this year was Captain, our cat. Oh, sorry. That cat is hilarious. It just like will leap out of bushes on people and it fights with the dog all the time.
Scares you in the garden.
Fight as in it just acts goofy. It also kept my toddler entertained all summer long. Captain got pretty big now, so our toddler can't hold him anymore, but I don't know, he just added a spark. He added some fun. I also really had a lot of fun with my ducks. They are now laying eggs, which is really cool because their eggs are very nutrient dense. And I don't know, they just add that funny personality. Even sometimes now that it's cold outside, it's raining and I'll look out the window and the ducks are just like going crazy out in the rain, and they just have really funny personalities. The next category is personal care, hygiene, whatever, products. And this is, again, is mostly me. Cody's pretty low maintenance. But this hemp seed oil has got to be at the top of my list. This hemp seed oil and this gua sha tool have been really transformative for my skin. I have very, very sensitive skin and I have tried all the things. I've tried all the cleansers and nothing really seemed to work. My skin dries out really easily, and then it's also very oily. I'll just put some of it in my hand with a little bit of water, emulsify it, and then use it as a cleanser. It doesn't dry my skin out. It leaves my skin feeling really smooth and nice. I also use this as a moisturizer. I wouldn't say that it just like takes acne away, but it heals the skin and doesn't clog pores, and my skin hasn't been this good in a few years. Another one of my favorite products that I've been using this year all the time is this tallow balm. We did a video showing how I make this. I use this almost every day. My kids use this. Absolutely love it. If you're in the market for a clean hair care brand, Inner Sense is the best. I absolutely love Inner Sense. I've been using this for 4 years. So this will probably always get on my favorites list. It's a bit expensive, but because it's so concentrated, you need to use like a teeny tiny bit with amazing results.
I don't have a lot of favorites when it comes to body care products, but this cologne from Purely Parsons, Michelle has talked about them on her Instagram, is really good stuff. I really like it. I haven't been using cologne for years. Because of these synthetic fragrances, I don't like putting those chemicals on my body. Michelle can't handle the smells. But this stuff has nothing synthetic in it and it smells really good.
When it comes to things that we preserved, one of my very favorite things was this raspberry lemonade concentrate, just because it was fun and different. It was easy. You can just water bath can it because it's very acidic, and all the kids were excited about it because it tastes so good, obviously. It is so, so good.
I think my favorite thing that we preserved this year was the applesauce. Michelle mentioned earlier the video that we did about getting apples, making applesauce. That was super fun, so that's part of it. And it's really, really good. This one is a cinnamon sugar applesauce, and this one is a raspberry applesauce. We used raspberries that we grew here on our homestead, cinnamon sugar that we did not grow here on our homestead.
My other favorite thing was sweet corn, just because this was something new. I mean, obviously it's not a new food to us. I had this growing up. We used to always have pizza and sweet corn on Saturday night. So this is just something that's also very nostalgic, and the kids also got really, really excited about the sweet corn. So one of my obsessions this year with clothing was the Etsy shop Sweet as Honey Tees. She has a Homestead line of t-shirts that are so cute. And so I definitely got a few of those and I wore them all summer long.
They're all worn out. One of my favorite pieces of clothing for this year is this More Than Farmers hoodie. I just got it. The place where we get our merch made just started carrying hoodies that are embroidered instead of printed, and the colors I think are awesome. Some of you may remember that I started wearing barefoot shoes this year. My knee problems completely went away, which I'm really happy about. Remember us talking about the backpacking trip a little bit ago? The first one we took, our youngest 4-year-old, she had some regular shoes on and she just kept tripping all over the place. And we were like, we're gonna get her some barefoot shoes for our next one. So before the next backpacking trip, we got her a pair of barefoot shoes and she stayed up a lot better. I recently got these Zero shoes for running. I really, really like these. I also have my sandals that I've worn in some of our videos this summer.
These Jesus sandals?
Yeah, got a pair of hiking shoes. Really, really liking these.
One of my favorite homestead related books that I read this year was The Guide to Homestead Dairy Sheep by Rachel Hester. It was really, really fun to read through this book. It's very, very informative. It covers everything, and it just got me all the more excited about getting sheep.
So I guess I need to read it too. I picked out a couple books. This first one here, Make Mead Like a Viking, was given to me by a friend. I haven't finished it yet, but I've gotten partway through it and I'm really excited to finish it because I think this is gonna have some good information. It's about using traditional techniques for making mead and things like that, rather than all of the highfalutin sciencey stuff. And another one This isn't something that you just sit down and read, but if anybody else lives in Ohio and wants to do any backpacking, this book here was more helpful to me than searching on the internet for places to
definitely
go. And it has maps in it and just all the details about all the backpacking trails here in Ohio.
This summer while I was on a trip, Cody surprised me by finishing out this back patio back here behind our house. He put gravel down, we put lights up, put in a fire pit and a picnic table, and it has brought us so much joy. We've been able to have our friends over. Our house is very, very small, and so it can be very difficult to host. But with that extension outside during the summer, it was just amazing. We had so much fun back there. Made a lot of memories, lots of s'mores. Another homestead improvement that has taken a huge load off of my mind is putting in an in-ground fence for Cowboy. Cowboy is a very high energy dog and likes to slip away to the neighbors at any chance she can, and so the in-ground fence has really helped to keep her at home and make so that we don't have to worry about her getting hit on the road or bothering the neighbors.
A couple of my favorite improvements on our homestead this year. First of all is getting my office basically done. You heard it right, it is basically done. It's not quite done yet though. I'm gonna wait to show you inside until it's actually completely done. But I do have my computer out there now, and Michelle and I are both able to do our work out there with a little more peace, a little more space. It's really, really nice. Super excited about that. Also, really happy with the shelving that we got put in the root cellar. That was a real game changer for us, getting stuff in the cellar to cure and then for its permanent storage down there. We mentioned earlier what our favorite videos were that we made this year, and so I'm gonna put those two videos on the screen right here for you to watch next. The one about the eclipse and the one about the applesauce. Those are both super fun, and you can go watch those and share those moments with us again.
So just start there, it's really important.
When you sweat from doing strenuous activities.